On Continuum today, we're talking about crimes against children, particularly across Southeast Asia, where it's so rampant, all of the sex trade and abuse that happens. Jesus talked about children several times in the Gospels, and particularly gave us a mandate to bring the little children unto me, he said. Today we're going to take a look at what we're doing to change all of that for the kids of Southeast Asia.
Elizabeth Tritipitak is a bright and energetic 2-year-old who has known nothing but love and acceptance her whole life. But Elizabeth's path originally led into the dark void many children in Asia fall into. Slavery is a modern-day reality and comes in many forms. The majority of Thailand's people caught in this atrocity are children who are being trafficked in the sex trade. Many of these children are sold by their parents to pay debts, or who are approached by agents and tricked into giving their children into what they think will be a normal job. Children are taken from their families and brought to brothels, where they are forced to service dozens of customers a day. For millions across Asia and the world, this has become their reality. Elizabeth's birth mother was a drug addict who lived in a slum entrenched in the sex and drug trade. She decided to abort her baby until someone assured her the baby could be placed in a loving home.
My husband and I found out about Ellie when her mother was about 8 months pregnant with her, and we knew immediately that God had called this little baby to be our daughter. And we named her Elizabeth Joy even before she was born, and I got to hold her when she was less than an hour old. As I held her, I just really prayed a spirit of adoption would take place between her and us. We knew that we wanted to adopt her, but she also, throughout her life, has to choose to adopt us as her parents as well. So we just rebuked that spirit of rejection, anything like that off of her. We just prayed that God's peace would be on her every day of her life. And you know, now she's almost 2 years old, and she's such a joy to us. She really lives up to her name. She's one of God's greatest blessings in our lives. And it's really exciting to see what God is doing in her and through her already, and to think what God has for her, what destiny God has for her future. Why did God call her out of such a dark place and into a place where she could be loved and accepted and cared for her entire life?
Margaret Granger launched Hand to Hand to meet the incredible need of protecting children in Pattaya by giving them a safe environment to come to each day. Without this facility, the children in this area would be prime targets for predators. Margaret and her team provide meals, a free education, and most of all, the gospel, to equip these children to break free of modern-day slavery.
Here in Thailand, in Pattaya, we have a big problem with children that are being trafficked both domestically and internationally. And they're brought over here for 3 main reasons. They're brought over here for sexual trafficking, also for labour trafficking, and also for begging purposes. So here at Hand to Hand,
We have lots of children that come from very poor and disadvantaged areas, and the first thing what we are looking for is this child being trafficked for sexual purposes or for labor? And if you go down to the famous walking street here in Pattaya, you'll see children on boxes doing acrobatic performances for money. And those children too are being trafficked, but the law, they go unidentified by the law because the law doesn't actually understand what they're looking for.
Recently, Margaret was asked to put together a child protection policy and is currently holding conferences with dozens of government and education leaders to implement this policy in schools across Pattaya. From here, the policy will move into other cities in Thailand.
So we're actually working with the government this year to help each school write their own child protection policy. And out of this policy and out of this new understanding, schools too will be armed with a new information about what is trafficking. And once that we can start identifying it, we can start prosecuting and we can start actual prevention programs as well.
Elizabeth's story, of course, is very special to us. She's like our granddaughter now, and we love adopting these children. Terry and I came to Southeast Asia originally 32 years ago and began with the El Shaddai Children's Home, where we gathered many of these kind of children who didn't have parents. Parents were lost in the war or whatever, and these are the kids that end up in the sex trade. And so to really cut off these crimes against children, we have to begin at the roots, and that's what Jesus was talking about. Bring the little children unto me. So thanks for watching Continuum today. Come back again this time next week for more Great Commission action from this side of the Continuum.